it's a little confusing, and I even knew kind of the floor plan, and I was still kind of like, okay, no, where is, what? It's weird.
I'm looking forward to going.
Yeah, they've got some cool stuff. The Smithsonian exhibit on the second level is where all the really coolest stuff is, and then I thought anyway.
Oh, we're gonna start. So let yourself sit comfortably, however feels good to you, up on blankets if you want to. Just be mindful of getting okay for your hips. Let your eyes gently close and start to be with your breath. Accepting your breaths in and out, so not forcing your breath, just receiving it. Feeling your belly rise a little bit as you inhale. Releasing your arms on out beside you here now. Let's let our fingertips lightly touch the floor. Really lengthen up through the top of your head. And let your next inhale rise your arms all the way out and up overhead. And exhale, bringing the hands right down together in front of your heart. And then reversing to inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And then from here, we're going to swing our legs over to the right side of us. Now, kind of adjusting to where you have a comfortable feeling here in your knees. Be really mindful if you need to get a blanket to sit up on, that can make it feel better. Good. And then from here, twist towards your front leg. We're kind of all on different ones, it doesn't matter. And then just ease your way forward a little bit. So you're just going to come out over your front thigh there. And you may decide you want to stay up high. Just lean forward a little bit. Use your hands to help you. You may decide you want to lay out over that leg farther. And if you kind of need to adjust how you have your legs there, go right ahead and do that. Just let yourself feel that release through that front hip there. And a little bit of openness through the back leg back there, through the front of that hip. One more breath. And then as you come up, we're going to swing our legs right on around to the other side. So let yourself just swing the legs on over to the other side. Again, kind of adjust so you feel okay in your legs here. And twist towards that front thigh. And again, you may want to stay way up high. Let yourself open there. You may decide it feels good to fold more over that front leg. Just take your time. Let yourself breathe into your low back. Good. One more breath. And as you start to head up, we're actually going to swing our legs around in front of us now with them out nice and long. And flex your feet a little bit here. Feel yourself now sitting up nice and tall in staff pose with your hands down beside you. Draw your heels down and back a little bit so you can press into the balls of the feet so you're engaged here. Good. And then inhaling here. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to our right. Bring your right hand on around to however far behind you want to go. And lengthen up. Feel the sitting bones drawing down equally into the floor. Good. One more inhale. And on the exhale, come on back around through center and all the way into the other direction. So still feeling those heels down into the floor, drawing them back, lengthening up. One more inhale. And on the exhale, coming on back around into center. And let's inhale the right arm all the way out and up. And we're going to come over into side stretch here now. So bending that left elbow as low down as you want to go, really. Breathing into the right side of the body here. And then we'll come on back up, and we're just going to go to the other side. So as you bring that right hand out, and you bend your elbow, and you come into that side stretch, just let it feel really good. Reach out through the fingertips, and let yourself feel that stretch through the left side. Good, and then we'll bring our hands on back down, and now let your hands come behind you, so that you can draw the chest forward, draw the shoulders back a little bit. You can be on fingertips if you'd rather, or flat onto your hands. That's up to you. Just open through the chest there. Good. And then come on back forward and shake out a little bit. Let your legs move around a bit, and your feet. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees. So when you're ready, if you need a blanket, grab it for underneath your knees. Or your hands, if your wrists are iffy too, adjust however you need to for your hands. Come to fists if you need to. And then once you're there, just shift your hips side to side a little bit and let yourself release there. Just shifting to the right and the left. Let your head hang if possible. And then come on back into center, and we'll start to move through our cat-cow. So take your time. If you feel like stopping in cat or cow and staying for a breath or two, by all means do. If you really like to continuously move, then go right ahead and continuously move through with your breath. And then we'll finish the one we're on. Come on back to more neutral spine. And let's come down onto our left forearm so it's parallel to the front edge of our mat, and stretch our right arm out overhead, and go ahead and relax your head down onto that left forearm. And just press gently down into that left forearm and into your right hand, and let your chest melt down towards the ground in your quarter down dog. And then bring your right hand back enough to press your way up. We're just going to switch arms. So again, as you get situated there and your head comes down onto your forearm, just let your hips shift back a little bit. Let the chest melt down. Feel that really ease of releasing there between your shoulder blades on your back. Good, and then bring that left hand on back so we can press on up. And then from here, curl your toes under, lift up, and go on into a downward facing dog pose. And take your time if you need to walk to ease your way into the backs of your legs. You can walk your dog, spread your fingers wide, press back out of your hands, and start to enjoy that length now of the spine, feeling equally long through both sides of your body as well. Good. One more breath here in your dog. And then we'll lower our knees on down. We're going to step our left foot forward and come on into lunge. So you know if you like your blocks, you can have your blocks under your hands. And take your time. Be any height that you feel good to be. Get that length of your stance where you feel good. And then just enjoy. Starting to feel your whole body coming into the lunge. Lengthening out through the back body. Back of your head in line with your spine. Good, and we're going to switch legs, however you want to do that, coming to the other side. So bringing yourself into that lunge, and again, starting to, once you get your feet, your legs situated, really come on into the whole body, into your lunge. Good. And let's switch legs again. And this time, see if you can lift your left heel up just a little bit. Press the feet away from each other. Feel that belly engaging a little bit there. And then lower the heel on back down to the floor. And we'll switch legs one more time. So again, once you get situated in your lunge, lifting up that front right heel a little bit, pressing the feet away from each other like you're trying to lengthen your mat, feeling the hips, letting the heel release back down. And we'll come on forward now into our standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel, and you know, however you need to be in your forward bend, whatever support you need. If you need to keep your back long, feel free to rest your elbows above your knees if that helps, or put your hands on the blocks so that you're allowing yourself to be okay in your back. See if you can let your head hang and feel the weight of your head releasing through your face, your jaw, good. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips and press into our feet as we rise up to standing. Let's inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Release your arms on down beside you. Check out your feet. Get your feet just the distance apart you want to be. And then as you bring your gaze forward, bring your right arm up overhead. And then your left arm up overhead. And almost feel like you're climbing a ladder here. So you let one hand go up a little higher and then the other. So it's almost like you're just getting longer and longer through each side of the body, one little step at a time there. And then end up with your arms up equal. Turn your palms to face each other. And then open your arms out beside you. Palms are facing up and the arms are out like the letter T. And let yourself just enjoy. Release the shoulders down away from your ears. Feel that sense of just the weight of your arms, but it's releasing your shoulders instead of tensing them up. And then just softly allow your hands to come together in front of your chest, coming into your mountain pose. Feeling your feet equal in the floor, feeling that sense of soaring upward really through the top of your head. And once the pelvis is aligned, it's easy to stack up. Good. We're going to unfold the arms right back down beside us and inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bend your knees as you come on forward into that standing forward bend. Good. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back wherever you want your hands to be. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge here. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So take your time again as you find dog and ease your way on back with your hips. Feel that sense of being very equally long through the sides of your body. And let your next inhale bring you on out to plank. Nice and strong plank. Engage your belly. Make sure you're not just hanging out into the belly, but you're reaching your sitting bones down for your heels. And to lower down, you know you can put your knees down first if you want. Coming on down to the mat. Good. Now let's come on to our forearms into Sphinx pose. So, you know, where you have your elbows for this, up to you. They can be down more towards your waist or they can be right under your shoulders. For a second here, see if you can lift your feet up and then just put the tips of your toes or curl your toes under. And depending on you, how your feet feel there, right, and your toes. Engage the belly a little deeper. And then come on back down to the tops of the feet. Feel the tops of the toes pressing gently down into the mat. And then we'll lower on back down. Bringing our hands back by our chest. Let's come on back into down dog. Whether you come through a half or a full push-up or back to your hands and knees and then back into down dog. And we'll bring the right foot forward. fine lunge there. So you know you can put your left knee down if you need to get there. And then we'll come back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And be mindful. Again, pay attention to your back. If it needs support, use it. If you like to hold your elbows, go right ahead. Think of your feet being fairly parallel, remember, so that you feel that sense of the four corners of your feet into the floor. You're not letting your toes turn outward. Full deep breaths. And then we'll let our hands come on up to our hips. We're going to press into our feet and come on up to standing. And inhale our arms out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down as the top of the head reaches up higher. Let's reverse to inhale the hands right up through the midline on the exhale. Open the arms like wings as you fold forward from your hips. Let your next inhale help you find that nice long flat back. And this time left foot comes back into lunge. Good. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Good. Let's come on out to plank. And from here, let's lower our knees down so we're on all fours. And then send your right foot back behind you. Curl your toes under, press into your heel. And we're going to use that left foot kind of like a kickstand behind us to shift onto our left hand and bring our right hand up to our right hip, coming into that, just a little bit of side plank here. So you can stretch your right arm up. You can lift that right foot up off the floor if you want to as you come into using the core body there. Flexing the foot really helps. Flexing through that right foot, pressing into the inner heel. Now, if any of you want to bend that knee and bring the heel towards your buttocks, you can reach back with your right hand and get hold of the top of the foot if you want to. Not necessary. And then come on back into long leg, arm overhead. We're going to come back down, and all we're going to do is switch. So the left leg goes back first. You curled your toes under, you're stretching out the back of the leg. And then that right foot, when it comes like a kickstand more behind you, it gives you a little bit more support to come to the inside of your left foot. And you're there on your, you can get your right hand just at that right spot to lift that foot up. It might need to come, you want it right under your shoulder, so you may need to kind of adjust that bottom hand. You can stay here, you can bend the left knee if you like, reach back with your left hand, get a hold of the top of the foot, stretching out the quad a little bit there, pressing the foot into your hand. And then you can reach back long into that side plank variation. And then we'll come on back down. We're going to bring ourselves back into child's pose for a breath. So release your way back. If you want to bend your elbows and put your hands up on your upper back, if that feels good, you can stretch out your triceps that way and release a little bit. If that doesn't feel good, don't do it. Good. And then we'll come on back to long arms, and we're going to come on forward and see if you can just shift your hips forward towards a little cobra here. You don't have to go deeply. You can go just a little bit, or you can go all the way through with the chest, bringing your gaze forward if you choose to. And then from here, we're going to come on back into downward facing dog pose. Walk a little bit. See if you can even walk to the tops of the toes, one foot at a time, and press down into your toenails a little bit. Stretching out the tops of the feet. Good. And then finish off back in your down dog. Really find that dog, really reaching equally back through your sitting bones, elbows hugging towards each other. And we'll bring the left foot forward from here to come into lunge. And again, you can put the right knee down if you need to, or both knees if you need. And then we'll come on into standing forward bend. Right to your breaths. Whatever support you need, but feeling that release of those full deep breaths, both your inhales and your exhales being nice and long and deep, and just letting the torso coming forward like this help the backs of the legs to open up a little deeper. Good. And then we'll let our hands come up to our hips as we bend our knees. We're going to rise up to standing and inhale our arms out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Keep your hands together now. Inhale them right up through the midline. And then bend your elbows and let your hands come maybe to the top of your head. Maybe you can actually go behind your head a little bit. Hug your elbows a little bit forward. And just make sure that you're not tucking your tailbone forward, right? Your tailbone is reaching down towards between your heels. If your elbows can rise up a little bit, you can support your head there. Let yourself open a little more through the chest, but keep the belly working. And then extend your arms back long overhead, and as you exhale now, open the arms like wings and come into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale lengthen out your spine. And exhale, right foot back to come to lunge. And inhale, exhale into downward facing dog. Let your inhale bring you out to plank. Your exhale is going to lower you down. And inhale into your cobra of choice. And exhale back into down dog. Inhale, exhale right foot forward to lunge. And inhale, exhale into standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way up to the top of the breath. And letting your exhale bring you forward. Inhale into that long back. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into down dog. Let your inhale carry you out to plank. Exhale will lower you down. Inhale into your cobra of choice. And exhale back into down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way up to the top. And on the exhale, coming forward again. Let your inhale lengthen your spine. We're going to come into down dog however you want to get there. So placing your hands, jumping or walking. Ease your way there into dog. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Really press back out of your hands. Enjoy your whole body in your pose here. Good. And from here, we'll bring our left foot forward. We're coming up for warrior one. So take your time. Let yourself get your shoulders squared off the front of your mat. And if you can, reach your hands like you're reaching down towards the front corners of your mat. Depending on where you are on your mat, maybe a little bit forward to the front corners. But your palms are facing each other. Your pinkies are down. Your thumbs are up. And just look down for a second. Let your neck release there. And then as you slowly start to rise the arms forward, and they keep going up and up and up, you're going to feel that uplift in the front of the body. Maybe even bringing your gaze up, right? Feeling that lift at the base of your shoulder blades. So basic warrior one, letting yourself just ease your way upward through the fingertips. Let the shoulders come down away from your ears. And feel the energy all the way up through the tips of your fingers and out beyond, really. Good. One more breath. And then bringing your gaze on back forward, release your arms on down beside you, and we're going to turn to face the long edge of our mat. Get our feet wide for a wide-legged forward bend. And we're going to come on forward. So if you like to have blocks under your hands, grab your blocks. Let yourself ease your way into bending both your knees at first. And then go ahead and straighten one leg at a time there so you ease your way from side to side. Take your time. If it bothers your knees, don't do it. And then come on back into center and let yourself adjust. If you need to change your stance a little bit more or less wide, do. And then just come on in to where you think is the best way for you to release into this pose. Feel free to use blocks underneath your forearms or your head. Your hands can come wherever feels good, between your feet or onto your ankles. Feel the feet in the floor now. So really feeling the arches lifting up away or wanting to away from the floor, and the four corners of the feet into the ground. And accept those full deep breaths. One more breath. Now walk your hands out to where you have a nice long back. And you may want to use a block because we're going to do a little twist, or you may want to have your hands on the floor. But lengthen out, get your hands right there under your shoulders when you're really nice and long in your spine. And then let your right hand come to where you can easily support yourself as you lift your left hand up. And go ahead and roll that left shoulder up. Hand there on the sacrum. So you're flat, right back there at your sacrum. And you can stretch your left arm up if you want. That's up to you. If it feels better to keep your hand down, do. Press your feet away from each other, like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. And then bring your left hand on back down. And all we're going to do is come to the other side. So again, hand up there onto the sacrum, rolling the shoulder up. You don't have to lift the hand up. You're staying as level as you can. Good. If you like to lift that arm up, go right ahead. And then we'll come on back down. And then from here, we're going to walk back over to our left foot and come on back into lunge and make our way back into downward facing dog pose. And then from there, walk to the tops of the feet a couple of times to stretch your feet out. And then come on back to your full dog. And let's come on out to plank. And if you're able to go to an up dog from here, go for it. If not, you can go down to the floor, come onto a sphinx or into a cobra if you'd rather. And then we'll come on back into down dog. And if you'd like to do a few more of those, go for it. If you'd rather put your knees down and rest or stay in your dog, do. If you'd like to come out and go through to another up dog or two, you can. Good. And finish off and meet back in down dog. Good. And from here, we're going to bring our right foot forward, and we're coming up for warrior one on the other side. So take your time, get yourself adjusted there in your length of stance, your width of stance, the angle of that back foot, and letting the arms come on forward a little bit here now, turning the palms to face each other. Spread your fingers really nice and wide, and try to keep them rounding forward, right? It's like your chest is a little bit forward already, so that when the arms start to rise up, and you're slowly feeling that lift in the front of the body, the higher the arms go, the more it gets into the front of that left hip. Once you get into your warrior one where you want to stay, just enjoy. Feeling that huge sense of that uplift through the front of the body. Imagine energy releasing down the back of your body. Feel your feet equal in the floor. One more breath. And then as we look forward, we'll bring our arms on down beside us, and we're going to turn now towards the left side of the mat. Adjust your feet, and then ease your way forward again. Take your time, grab a block if you want. Once you get on down there towards the ground of the block, walk yourself over towards your right foot, and then just stay there. See, it doesn't matter how far you go. Stay and breathe. See if you can really let yourself feel what's happening through both legs, actually, not just the one you're going towards. And then come on back through center, and we'll go to the other side. So again, once you get where you want to go, just stay and breathe. Let go through your jaw and your face. And then we'll come on back into center. And if you can turn your toes out a little bit here, do. Bend both your knees a bit like you're doing goddess. And again, you can be up on blocks, remember. And then if you want to straighten one leg at a time out here, do. If there's any issue with your knees and it doesn't feel good, don't. I know a lot of you like to go lower. You know, if you like to pick up and be on the heel of one foot so that you're coming even more deeper, you can come down with your hips too if you like that shifting all the way down towards the ground. Use your hands to support you. Let yourself, if that feels good, come into those deeper stretches. And then take your time. We're going to come on back to getting the feet more parallel, being centered here.
And again, really set yourself up, right? Use whatever supports you need. If you want to try something different, try it. I mean, if you don't usually use any kind of support under your head, it might be fun to try it, and you might go, well, that doesn't work for me. Or you may feel like you want to use blocks underneath your forearms. So just be mindful. Go right to your breath. And now see if you can watch your breath come in to expand your ribs in all directions. Nice. One more breath. And then as we come up and up to walk back over to that right foot, let yourself come on back to lunge and back into your downward facing dog pose. And you're on your own. If you like to come in to any vinyasas or kriyas, you can. If you don't want to do those, don't do them. Let yourself, if you prefer, put your knees down and rest in child's pose. You can move quickly, you can move slowly, you can go down through chaturanga, in other words, with your elbows bending, coming down through that push-up if you would rather do that, then come straight from down dog through plank to up dog. So there are lots of options. You may want to open your hips instead. Finish off. We're going to meet back in down dog. And from here, we're going to bring our left foot forward. We're coming up for warrior two, and you may want to have your blocks handy here just in case. So line your heels up and let yourself line up that front knee. Take your time to float your arms on out and turn your palms up. Let your elbows melt down. Let yourself feel that. When we began, we had our arms out straighter, remember, and we feel the shoulders soften down. Try to get that same thing here with the elbows a little softer. Looking at that left hand there now. And then just start to rotate the palms down. Reach out through your fingertips. Feeling the shoulders softening down away from your ears. Feeling your feet equaling the floor. Reaching equally back through the right fingertips and forward through the left. And let's fold our right arm behind us and go ahead and bring your forearm onto your low back. Turn your left palm up and inhale and come into really letting yourself breathe into that left side in your reverse warrior. Breathing into the ribs. And on your next exhale, come on into your side angle. So bringing your hand or forearm onto your thigh. Adding that right arm up into line if you choose to, or keeping your hand on your hip. Think about really drawing your right shoulder away from your ear. Actually, both shoulders are coming down away from your ears as you press into that left forearm and draw that shoulder down as well. Good. One more breath. Turn to look at the floor. We're going to come into lunge here. So you may want to use your blocks. We're going to add a little twist. So kind of setting yourself up for the twist you like to do. If you like to bring your right elbow to your left knee, you can come into twisted prayer. Or you can bring your left hand up onto your low back, or stretch your arm up overhead. Take your time. Let yourself find that twist that feels really good to you. And then we'll come on back into lunge here and back into our downward facing dog pose. And again, you're on your own. So if you like to come into some vinyasas or kriyas, do. If you want to open your hips a little bit, you might decide you want to lift a leg up at a time and open up through your hips rather than coming through into those planks. Pay attention to how your wrists feel, your hands. Good. And then when you're ready, make sure you're evened out if you were doing one side and then the other. And then we'll come back to down dog. So we can bring our right foot forward. And we're coming up for warrior two on the other side. So lining up those heels, lining up that front knee. Arms floating up and out and turning the palms up and just looking there at your right hand as you feel really soft in your shoulders. Let yourself imagine you're holding something equal in weight and feeling in your hands. So you feel very balanced in your arms, your hands, your shoulders. And as we rotate the palms down and reach out through the fingertips, feel the feet pressing gently away from each other, like you're trying to lengthen your mat. Nice. We're going to fold that left arm behind us and turn that right palm up and inhale and reach up. You can go back farther if you want, or you can go straight up. Breathing into the right ribs here. And then on your exhale, coming on into that side angle. So again, it can be forearm or hand onto your thigh. And again, whether you want to add that left arm up into line with the left side of the body is totally up to you. Think of the pinky finger of that left hand drawing down towards the ground a little bit so you have more space between your ear and your shoulder. Good. One more breath. Turn to look at the floor. We're going to come into our lunge. So take your time. Remember, if you want to use block, do. If you want to use hand on the floor, your twist is yours, whether you bring your left elbow over to that right knee, or maybe you want to bring yourself into left hand staying down. Right hand can be on your hip or up overhead with that arm. Good. And then we're going to release and come on back to lunge, and we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Once you're in dog now, see if you can from there. Just bring yourself fully into your dog. Good. And then walk your feet a little wider on your mat, right? Now this is really optional, and you may have to kind of adjust your hands. If you can reach your right hand over to get your left leg, you're reaching across. You can reach over towards like your calf. I mean, it depends on you. Maybe you can go lower. I don't know. Good luck. And then we're going to switch and go to the other side. Don't do this if it's too much on your shoulders or anything. There's a little twist involved. Good. And then bring your hand on back down and walk your feet back into your dog. And if you want to do some final vinyasas or kriyas, you can. So if you feel like coming into a little bit more, go for it. If not, don't. In fact, put your knees down and rest if you'd rather. Good. And then we'll meet back in downward facing dog pose. And walk your feet wider again so that you can walk your hands back. And you get to come into any kind of squat you want. Your elbows can rest above your knees so that you're letting your hips shift back that way. You're more than welcome to bring your heels inward. If you like to come down into squat with your hands at your heart, you can. And if you'd rather come down into another form of a squat, by all means do. I mean, some of you might even want to play a little bit with coming forward, coming up and do a little crow pose. If you want to do a little arm balance work, you can. Or maybe you just want to put your hands on the ground and shift forward and let yourself just release a little deeper there into your hips. Right? That's up to you. Just play or stay in a squat. Good. And then to come up out of this, you're going to have to let yourself shift to bring your hips up in the air and get your feet back underneath you. So coming on into your standing forward bend, take your time. Use whatever support you need. Get your feet really comfortable. Come into your breath. And then bend your knees, press into your feet. We're going to rise up to standing, and we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So finding your mountain pose here now. Take your time. If you need to adjust a little bit, do, or sway. Just feel balanced between your feet, all the way up through your legs into your hips, all the way up through the sides of your body into your shoulders and your hands. Just let your head float up there on top. Nice, and then we'll release our arms on down beside us. Shake out a little bit, walk around if you need to. We're going to bring our mats into a wall. So let's bring our short edge into a wall and bring everything with you. We're staying. Take your time and get a wall that you feel comfortable at. We have plenty of room today. Nobody's close to anybody. So let's bring our left hand towards the wall, and we're going to come into standing on our left foot, and you can keep your hand on the wall as you bring your right knee up in front of you like you're stepping up a high step. Flex that foot. Now you might want to hold on to your knee, you might want to hold on behind your thigh there on the outside, that's up to you. See if you can stretch your left arm higher up the wall, so you're up with that arm long, and then maybe balance for a second. Take the hand off the wall briefly. And then bring your hand back to the wall. We're going to open the knee out to the side so you can still keep your hand on the knee or behind your thigh. And see if you can maybe release your hand there to balance briefly. And then bring the left hand back down, and we're going to bring this foot in for tree pose. Whether you come into the inside of your inner left thigh or below your knee on your calf. And now bring your right arm up too. So both your arms are up. Turn your palms to face each other, and then you can decide if you want to let go of the wall or not with that left hand. You can always keep the fingertips there on the wall. Find a spot to look at. Good. Bring your left hand back to the wall gently. And then release your foot from your leg. Turn your knee back forward like we began, like you're stepping up that step. And then send that right foot down and behind you, coming into dancer's pose. Reaching back to get hold of the top of the foot, only if you can. And maybe you can balance totally upright there. Maybe you like to come forward with your chest and let the knee come back behind you. Maybe you want to balance. Maybe you want to use the wall. You don't have to do the coming forward at all. You know that. And if you want to keep your hand on the wall because that feels really good to open the chest a little more, do it. Nice. And then when you're ready, let yourself release and come on down and shake out. Take care of that leg you were standing on. Actually, turning to the other side and just doing it on the other side is going to help release, especially when you lift that leg up in front of you, that left leg. So you're stepping up that high step. Again, you can hold your knee. If you can send your right hand up the wall higher, do. And again, if you want to balance briefly, you can take that hand off the wall briefly. Good. Put the hand back on the wall. Let the knee open to the side. So again, the balance here is totally up to you. You can keep your hand on the wall. And then we're going to come on back hand to the wall so we can come into tree pose with that left foot. Again, whether you go below or above the knee, take your time. See if you can bring your left arm up overhead now so both arms are up high. Turn the palms to face each other. You can keep your right, fingernails in the wall there if you want. You don't have to balance unless it's having a good balance day here. Take your time. Let it feel just easy. Good. Nice. One more breath. And then from there, let yourself release again to foot off the inside of your leg. Bring your knee forward for a second. And then you're going to bring the knee behind you. And again, if you get hold of the top of the foot, fine. If not, fine. Bring that right arm up. And again, you can practice just balance without coming forward. If you want to just release the wall, balance, pressing the foot into your hand there. If you have it, and then if you want to come forward a little bit, do. And again, you can try keeping your hand on the wall. You can bring your hand off the wall and balance if you want. Feel the quad. Good. And then when you've had entirely enough of that, come on down, turn to face the wall. And come on back into that down dog where you're 90-degree angle at your hips. You have your hands on the wall. They can be fists. So if your wrists bother you, because this is an extreme bend in your wrist here, you can come to fists. But hug your elbows towards each other. You might glance at your hands. You might, without knowing it, have one hand higher than the other, and you want to get them even. And spread those fingers wide. Nice. And think about sending your tailbone back, maybe even up a little bit. So you really release there into that curve in your low back. The natural curves are there. Good. If you want to go even more, you can do a little warrior 3 if you want. Bringing your feet closer together, lifting one leg up in the air. You don't need to. It's only if you feel like doing a little bit more today. Otherwise, you can stay in the dog. And if you want to do the other leg, you can bring that foot down and go to the other side if you're doing the warrior 3. Nice. And then when you're ready, come on down, turn your back onto the wall, and walk your feet out now. And go ahead and shift down as low as you want to go. It doesn't have to be low. In other words, you can be barely bending the knee. You certainly don't want your knees to go out beyond your toes. And you're still, if you open back with the backs of the hands pressing into the wall, you're still going to really find a lot of work in your legs here and in your hips. So feeling your thighs. And if you're like, well, I think it'd be fun to go even lower, you can go lower. You don't have to, but you can. And some of you might want to bring your feet closer together and lift one foot up off the ground. And you've got to be in just the right place with that supporting leg, though. Otherwise, it's really hard. Yeah, it feels really one-sided. Unless you get that supporting leg a little more to the midline, then it becomes doable, maybe. And then we're going to release. We're going to come right on down, because it's so easy to do. Right down into child's pose with our toes touching the wall. And when you get there, you might just want to come forward some and get your hips off your heels, or you might want to let your hips shift back. It all depends on you and your knees, you know that. So you can bring yourself into your breath wherever you are. You know, if you're somewhat forward and up on your forearms, see if you can still let your head release. And if you're in your child's pose with your arms overhead, let the arms be soft. If you like to bring the arms back alongside your legs and turn your palms up, you can. Let yourself breathe into your low back. Good. And now from here, let your arms stretch out long overhead again. We're going to come on up to all fours. Curl our toes under and lift up and back to have our heels up the baseboard, coming into that down dog here. Elbows hugging inward, reaching back through your sitting bones equally. Bend your knees if you want. And of course, if you want to lift one leg up the wall, you can. Remember, you're pressing so far back out of your hands that you don't even have a wrist crease anymore, right? So that's doing those 3 legs like that makes it doable. And if you like both legs coming up, walk up the wall, go for it. Rest when you need to rest. Right, so letting yourself shift back to rest when you need to. I forgot to tell you to get straps, so I'm walking around to deliver some straps. Mm-hmm. No. I'm just having these for later. Because I don't have a memory anymore. I can't remember to tell you what you did.
At least you remember you don't have a memory.
So once you get into child's pose again, let yourself come up enough to thread the needle with your right arm on under you, and you can decide, maybe you just want to put your head down on your hand, you know, rest your head there. Maybe you want to stretch your left arm out overhead. Find what feels best in your shoulders. So letting yourself breathe there. wherever you're able to be. Good. And then coming up enough so you can just undo that side and go to the other side. So threading the needle with that left arm and coming on down. Again, you can put your head on your hand, your right hand if you want to. You can stretch that arm out like you're doing a down dog. You can kind of experiment to where it feels really good in your shoulder to release there. Good. And then let yourself release to come on back. And from here, we're going to come forward enough to bring our legs on around in front of us. So come enough away from the wall where you can have your hands back behind you without hitting the wall, okay? So you're forward away from the wall a little bit. And come on into staff pose. So think about sending your inner thighs down towards the ground, which has your knees and your toes facing up. So as we started class, heels to the ground, drawing them down and pressing into the balls of your feet, and coming into hands down beside you, palms down, into your staff pose. Good. And now think about inhaling the arms all the way out and up, feeling equally long through the sides of the body. And then coming forward from your low back a little bit. Allow your arms to drift on down. Maybe you want to reach for your toes in your forward bend. Maybe you want to bend your knees a little bit. Coming forward from the low back, letting yourself come into your seated forward bend. One more breath. And now reach your arms back forward, and they're going to like bring you all the way back up with your arms overhead again, all the way up. Once you get up, circle your hands behind you and lift and open your chest as you come back onto your fingertips back there. And just take a breath here, opening through the front of the body. And then on the next inhale, sit up again. Let the arms float back out and up overhead. We're going to do the same thing. Coming forward from the low back into that seated forward bend, into your classic seated forward bend. You know, bend your knees if you need to. You don't have to go all the way to your feet. You can just let your hands rest beside or on your legs. Good. One more breath. And then imagine you're trying to reach beyond your feet and come on up again with the arms overhead, and they're going to circle again behind you. Now this time, if you want to lift up and do a reverse plank, you can put your hands down and lift your hips up. Or you can stay with your hands down like we just did. Let yourself open your chest. And then we're going to come down again. One more time, we're going to inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, we're going to bring ourselves forward. Stay here for a couple of breaths. Maybe you can go a little bit farther than you did at the beginning. Letting yourself release into the backs of the legs. Good. And then reach forward with your hands. Again, we're going to come up. We're going to circle the arms back, and you can open the chest. If you'd rather, you can bend your knees too and come into a four-footed table here instead of a reverse plank. And remember, how you turn your hands for either one of these is totally up to you. You know, you can lift up or not. You can have your hands turned fingertips behind. And then when you're ready to come down, let yourself come on down, sit cross-legged for a second, and turn your hands over so the backs of your hands are resting on the floor. And then either just bow your head, that might be enough, or some of you might want to really fold a little bit over your legs. You're not pushing into your hands, but just aligning your hands like this will help the wrists release a little bit, whether you come forward with just your head or your body, right? Just release and breathe. Nice. And then we're going to slowly come on up. And before you come down onto your backs, get both your strap and a block or two handy. Okay, just in case you want a block or two, and you do want your strap. And we're going to come on down onto our backs on the floor, letting our knees come on in towards our chest. Go on into a little happy baby pose if you can. Let the feet come up, whether you feel like holding your feet or not, or having your hands on the back of your thighs, or holding your ankles, or whatever feels good. Roll around if it feels all right. Let yourself roll from side to side. and then bring your knees on back in. They're still separated, but they're in towards your chest. Kind of really let that low back melt into the ground. Good. And then bring your feet to the floor and let your arms come on down alongside you. Setting your feet up for bridge pose. So, a little wider than mountain. Your feet are still parallel, arms down alongside you. And then from here, just press into your hands and your arms and lift your hips up a little bit. Just a little bit, maybe lower than you usually do. From there, see if you can lift your heels up. You're on the balls of your feet. And then maybe lift your hips higher, roll your arms more underneath you. If any of you want to clasp your hands, you can, but you don't need to. Right? You can keep your arms parallel, palms facing down. Or if you like to clasp, sometimes if you clasp your hands, but let the hands come up towards your bottom, it feels good, right? Just play, coming into, release your heels down too when you're ready. Come into your bridge pose. If you need to come down and readjust your feet, do. Remember, your feet are a little wider than they are in your mountain pose for your bridge. And if you want to use a block and come into supported bridge right now, by all means do that. So you might feel like you want to rest on a block. You might feel like you sometimes getting up higher on a block than you usually are in bridge pose, and then resting feels really good. Sometimes you just want to stay at that lowest height of the block. Remember, you want to be totally supported on your sacrum. So just make sure you're supported. You don't feel like your bottom's hanging down off the block. So that you have that support to let the low back release. Or maybe you want to play, moving up and down off the block a little bit. You can do that as well. Good. Get ready to come down from bridge. Be mindful. Take your time as you come on down. Once you get down, bring your knees on in towards your chest and let yourself release your back. You may even want to curl up into a little ball. If it feels good to bring your face in towards your knees, you can. That's not for everybody. Some people, it really bothers their neck. And then from there, let yourself release on down. We're going to reach over and get our straps. And we're going to bring the strap on the ball of our right foot. Oh, actually, let's put both feet up. Put both feet up in your strap. And let yourself kind of even the strap out. So bring your hands to the ends of the strap. And then stretch your arms out beside you, kind of like a T position, right? And, bend the knees as much as you need. It's fine. Just let yourself have your feet up in the air there. Good. So now you're pretty equal. We're going to reach up higher on the strap, see if we can hold a little bit closer to our feet, and release our left foot out of the strap. Now, to lower it down, you want to really be mindful of what happens to your back. As you start to lower that left leg down, you're going to end up with that natural curve in your low back as it gets closer and closer towards the ground, which is what you want. You're not trying to keep your low back pressed into the floor. Once the left leg is down, go ahead and bend your right knee a bit. Let yourself really enjoy that release in that right hip. And now when you come into a straighter leg, don't pull the strap. Don't pull, right? You don't want a pulling sensation at your sitting bone. So you can still let the leg come in closer to you to feel enough of a stretch, but just be very mindful and allow the weight of your arms to help the back of your leg release. And it doesn't matter if your knee is totally straight. You're still going to open up the back of the leg. And the leg can be far away from you and still be getting a stretch going on in your hamstring. So just be mindful. Let yourself enjoy. Check out your foot. Make sure you're pressing equally into the big toe mount and the little toe mount on that strap. And then bring both ends of the strap into your right hand, left hand on top of your left hip, and open the leg out to the right a little bit or a lot, that depends on you. Keeping grounded in the left side. So rotating that heel up a little bit, finding that outward hip rotation. And then come on back up to the top, switch hands, so your left hand comes over to get the strap, and go ahead and stretch your right arm out beside you. Come over to the left, whether it's 2 inches and the right hip is down on the ground, or maybe it feels better to you to keep going farther and farther over into that twist. If you like to turn your head to look to the right, you can. One more breath. And now as you come on back up to the top here, we're going to put our left foot back up there so both feet are back. So again, once you get your feet up there, see if you can hold the ends of your straps and kind of let your arms stretch out beside you. Again, it's fine to bend your knees. Let yourself feel open a little bit across your chest here. Good. And then release to hold a little higher up towards your feet. Let your right foot come out of the strap. And again, as you lower it down, take your time. Feel what's happening in your back. So really focus on, as it lowers down, how you get into that natural curve in your low back. You're still engaging your belly. You're not just letting it go. You're not hyperextending up into your front ribs, in other words. Your back ribs, kind of breathe into your back ribs a little bit. Bend your left knee. Take your time when you come into that straighter leg, if you need to let the leg come away from you. And remember, you don't need to have total straight leg to come into the back of your leg. So just ease your way into releasing the back of your leg there. Be with your breath. Good. Press into that strap a little bit with the ball of your foot. And then bring both ends of your strap into your left hand. We're going to open the leg out to the left. So keep pressing gently into that strap with the ball of your foot as you open to the side. And you're staying grounded in the right side. Good. And then we'll come on back up to the top with that leg. Switch hands as your left arm stretches out and you come across maybe 2 inches. Maybe you don't want the left hip to come off the floor. You know, you can really get into the outside of the leg without releasing deeper and deeper, that's for sure. So you go as far as you want. Again, you might want to roll your head to look to the left. That's totally up to you. Keeping that right shoulder grounded. Nice. When you're ready to come back up, let yourself come on back up with that foot. Bring both feet again. Get that right foot back up there with your left. And then again, see if you can reach out to hold the ends of the straps more. Let yourself start to separate your feet. So we're coming into a wide angle, and if you're like, well, I only want to go a little wider than my shoulders, then you might need to choke up on your strap and hold closer to your feet. Or you might want to let your legs come wider and wider and wider to where you are still holding the ends of the strap. Okay, and your feet are really wide apart. This is totally up to you, and you know it. So be where you can. You can, if you want, imagine you're just pulling the strap in towards your body a little bit. Send your tailbone down a little bit. You'll get more into your inner thighs that way, and you have that natural curve, right? But there's nothing wrong with like letting the back come into the floor either, and letting yourself pull a little bit there. So just play a little. Good. And then we're going to bring the feet back up and take the strap off, and be really mindful of that metal end of it. As you bring the strap off to the side, go ahead and pull your knees in towards your chest, and then release beside you. And just let the knees gently come from one side to another. So it might be just a little bit. You may decide you want to shift your legs down lower towards the ground. You know, and if you want to have your feet on the floor instead of the knees in towards the chest, you can do that to let the knees come side to side. So, be mindful. There may be something else your body is craving to do right now. Right? I mean, if you're like, oh, I need to do a plow pose, or I need to send my feet back up in the air, or maybe you need to do a Baddha Konasana, or like a cow face reclined there, something like that to open your hips. Just be easy. Hopefully your hips feel pretty good right now. As you start to get ready for Shavasana, you may feel like, oh my goodness, I need some support. So, let me know as I start to walk around. And remember too, you've got the wall back there. All of you are close to a wall today. So if you want to lie with your legs up to the wall, you can. If you want to bolster, wave at me so I can bring you one. Either for under your knees, or if you feel like you want to lie back on a bolster, I'd be happy to bring you like a middle-sized or a small one. Just get comfortable. Let yourself feel this firmness of the floor underneath you. It's so easy to start to feel your muscles softening when you're on the firm floor. Be with your own breath now. Watching the wave of the breath and coming back to the breath. Every time your mind goes off into thinking, and give yourself these few minutes, giving your body and your brain time, so that you can benefit from all you just did. Just by allowing yourself to completely and fully relax.
those deeper breaths start to refresh you so that you physically want to move again, starting with your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet. Just gradually move into how you need to move, whether it's stretching out or bringing your knees in towards your chest. Feel free, of course, to roll onto either your right or your left side anytime if you're comfortable to be into a soft fetal position there on your side. You might even want to use your arm as a pillow. So give yourself a little bit of time to adjust, whether you stay on your back or you roll to your side. And then when you feel like coming up to sitting, see if you can just come up, let your eyes stay closed if possible, and get really comfortable in your hips, how you're sitting. If you need to grab a blanket to sit on, do. Let yourself just start to feel that ease of the head being up there on top again, up above your heart. Feel the central column of your spine supporting you so that you can stay nice and soft through your shoulders. And come back to watching your breath in and out through your nose. And let your next exhale bring your hands to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Happy Tuesday.